Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Preimesberger, editor of eWEEK. Thank you very much for joining us today for this next edition of eWEEK eSpeaks. It's the interview series with IT thought leaders that we do here at eWEEK. Our interviewee today is Ken Grohe. Ken is the president of Weka, W-E-K-A. Welcome, Ken.
Well, thanks, Chris. So great to be here. And as you asked me offline before, Weka, I haven't heard that much about it. Can you kind of go through the origin of the name or whatever? And that's what I'll try to tell everybody. Weka is actually short for Weka byte, which is 10 to the 30th power. Mm-hmm. We think it's future-proof. So it's all the information you could ever put in one single file system, global namespace. We'll talk about that later, I'm sure, Chris. Mm-hmm. But there's actually some history there and actually a little bit of good luck. In fact, one of my neighbors, Larry Page, the first CEO of Google before it became Alphabet, actually named a company Google Byte. And Google Byte is 10 to the 100th power. It's all the information that will ever be made. So they future-proofed as well. I hope we're just as fortuitous as Google is, but so happy to be on your show here at Weka.
Yeah, I was thinking when I first saw it that it was the name of a television network or a local station back east with W-E-K-A, but I was wrong. Thanks for the history lesson. I appreciate it. And tell us, Ken, what business problem, what IT problem that Weka solves? It's really kind of under the radar, and we need to let people know about how important it is.
Well, we think at Weka we solve big problems. You might say, what are the big problems? I'll go over commercial ones, and I'll go over one that's probably near and dear to everyone's heart. I'll talk about COVID, if it's okay with you, Chris. Mm-hmm. So tactically and how we pay the bills commercially is autonomous vehicles are everywhere. I can't really say the name, but there's a company that's the leader in autonomous vehicles. They might be here in the East Bay of California. I'm calling you right now from Campbell, and I live in Santa Cruz. We'll probably talk about that later. Mm-hmm. But that company that dominates autonomous vehicles was a first mover and our biggest customer. And we're very proud to have them. But it's not just autonomous vehicles. There's also autonomous actually trucking. You know, Too Simple, the leader, and it's a joint venture between an American company and a Chinese company. They actually have autonomous trucking. You can imagine with global supply chain, how important that is not to have human capital holding up the supply chain. And then on top of that, there's two major air carriers. I think we all know the names of them. One of them actually has autonomous actual flights. So it's three first movers, all of them bet on Weka, which is incredible. But something that might endear your listeners and yourself a little bit more, one of our largest public references is a company called Genomics England. Now, it is 100% true that the three companies that are about ready to come up with a vaccine through the United States, through the state system, all run Weka. But I have strict NDAs and I can't talk about that on what part of the coast they're or whatever. So, but all I can say is if you're racing to help out humanity, you're using the fastest and you're using Weka, okay? But there's another company that it was a 28 petabyte, the largest installation in all of Europe of Isilon. Sorry, I worked at EMC for 25 years. I love the place, but they had a product while I was there. They bought Isilon. Yep. The largest installation of in Europe of Isilon was at Genomics England. Unfortunately, they couldn't get above that. And they actually had 10, you ready for that? 10 storage administrators managing that.
Yeah, wow.
So they thought that was best of class. They took the gentleman who actually did the original quant trading in New York, and he's actually a Brit. He went back to his homeland and he showed them that through HPC world, and people from HPC, the academic world, you know Weka. Heck, you might even have a tattoo on your arm that says Weka. You're very loyal to us. But the Fortune 2000, we're kind of new. So thank you for helping us get through the whole clutter as part of it and galvanize to everybody. But what happened is at Genomics England, and what is happening, they are now taking that 28 petabyte that they thought they were topped out at, 10 storage managers, remember I talked about that? They're now at 70 petabytes and growing 2x every year. You ready for this, Chris? With a half a storage administrator. And they're doing it all through one global namespace, Weka, that needs no tuning. So you're able to use those 9.5 people. You didn't lay them off, use them for other functions. Right. Get proactive. And what that is they're doing one thing all around COVID resiliency. It's weird that it's not just older demographics get COVID and they get hurt. That's not it. It's not just if you have asthma, you get COVID and you're it. Or heck, there's even work being done with dogs, animals, young kids, or whatever. They're going across slicing and dicing all demographics, all globally to find out resiliency. That's how they can prioritize, how we get the vaccine out, not just in our country, but for the overall globe. So we think we solve big problems. And for those, you need, the highest end AI engine, and you need a parallel file system, which is Weka.
Right. Yeah, that's what IT is all about, is making things simpler for humans so humans can be creative and can plan and can strategize, let the machines and let the software do the work. And that's what Weka does. Now, tell me about the deployment of Weka. Is this something that has to run on a server in a private data center, or is it available on the cloud, or both?
Oh, thank you for that. I believe in choice. You and I talked before. We believe in flexibility. We believe in choice. The good news is the product is available. You can literally spin it up on AWS right now. Just go to startweka.com or weka.io. You go right to AWS and they'll host it for you, no problem. And you can do as small as you want and you scale it as large as you want. Like I said, up to 70 petabytes.
Mhm.
Or there are that are inclined. We have some great server vendor partners, namely Hitachi Vantara, namely HPE, namely Dell, namely Supermicro, namely Penguin Computing. My point being is those server vendors take our product, build a reference architecture for us, and take for example the HP DL360.
Right.
Some people call it the Ford F-150 of servers, or the brand new, and we're doing a reference architecture right now, the DL325 and the latest Gen 4 PCI throughput lanes, or the RA840 from Dell, or the big twin from Supermicro, or Hitachi Vantara, who actually has an appliance that goes all the way out to the object store.
Right.
My point being is you buy it from them. Here's what's good news. You get the best of a new company and the innovation, but some people are risk adverse. Wait a minute, I buy millions from HPE every year. I buy millions from Dell every year. I buy millions from Supermicro every year. I buy millions from HPE. I trust them, I know them. That's the good news. They're literally a server vendor SKU. You buy from them, use it from every out there. That's the difference. Everyone knows you need to buy software. Everyone knows storage has to be subscription, but the delivery vehicle of doing our business through the OEMs. And then I have a very small, very technical sales force that are very adept talking with, I'll call them chief data scientists or chief data officers, people that bridge the gap between the data group and the scientist group and IT. So you're not going to have the person that might buy a turkey club sandwich on Tuesday, but you'll have someone that can conviction and get it so you get more genomes done per day, or you can get autonomous vehicles going, or whatever your solution is for it. Or if you're in the analytics business, do quant trading so you have a competitive edge and get into microseconds and nanoseconds versus everyone else doing milliseconds, getting a competitive edge.
I was just wondering, we didn't talk about this before, but are you using the zettabyte file system on this by any chance?
No, Weka's our own file system. Yes.
You built your own. Okay.
But our own file system, ground up. We talked about this before. Moshe, besides being one of the Mount Rushmore pillars of storage,
Right.
when he left EMC, he went to start a company called XIV. His right-hand guy is Laron. He's my CEO, or RCO, excuse me. And he learned what he learned from building out XIV, which was bought by IBM and flourished amazingly to bring that to a robust parallel file system as part of it. So it's our own file system, and we use commodity servers. We just set you a spec and you keep on buying them as if you were buying them for your own. The difference though, Chris, you'll like this. We talked about this earlier. I was the gentleman that at Boston College, my alma mater for undergrad, I finished up my graduate at Stanford, but I was the person that EMC created the storage market, in my opinion. Moshe was the chief engineer and Dick Egan was the E of EMC. They thought there had to be a better way. If you were buying Prime, Wang, HP, IBM, DEC computers, it's silly that you buy an app and you buy that mini computer. This is before the internet. And then you had to buy upgrades only from EMC. And then flash forward with VMware. VMware made it so that you could go server, app, server, app, server. You said, that's crazy. Why am I buying 72 one-use servers to run 72 applications?
Right.
Instead, buy a robust server, larger server, and cross-couple them and make it failover. That bigger server move led to these supercomputers we're now part of. What Weka does is the extra NVMe devices that are available in these great servers that everyone's buying right now, you actually repurpose those to actually run data services for Weka. And everything you're running for data services with the actual storage that used to buy a separate device for, it's now inherent and it's next to the motherboard. It's, in the case of NVIDIA, it's actually GPU direct. And you have some huge advantage in price-wise and ease of management. So you have data services next to the CPU or the GPU.
Yeah. Storage, of course, is one of my favorite areas of IT. I was hired at eWEEK in 2005, 2006 to actually cover storage, and Duran was one of the first people I remember talking to years ago. And EMC was one of the big companies I was covering, of course. And so it brings back good memories. But all data's got to live somewhere. It's got to live in good protected storage, whether it's in the cloud or whether it's in your data center. And we can't run IT systems without it. And so it's super important. It sounds like what you're doing with Weka is really not just the next generation. You're ahead of the curve on all this. So congratulations.
Well, thank you very much for the Chris. And like you had mentioned, we're used to customers, let's say they're so inclined, they do an on-premises solution. You can start as small as you want, something as low as, let's say, 50 terabytes and maybe 8 nodes. That's fine. You run it robustly, and then you can move it up. And you might say, wait a minute, I'm going to do experiments. I'm going to do genomes. I'm going to do AI, but I need a place to put the data, but I don't want to throw it away. Mm-hmm. We link with all the different object stores. You'll see a release from us in a time where the world's so divided. We're bringing folks together. The 8 leading object stores all have partnerships and reference architectures with Weka, because we own the 0 tier, the tier 1, the tier 0. Wow. They want to own the cheap and deep. The great thing is you have one way. I just talked about how you go from 10 storage administrators with 28 petabytes and you go up to 70 petabytes and you go down to a half of one. Mm-hmm. That ease of management, believe it or not, we at Weka actually help you run object store better. And you can go a second container and you actually have that second container go up to AWS. So you can leverage the cloud. You can leverage object store on premises or on the cloud, and you leverage us on premises or the cloud. Choice is good. You and I talked about this offline before, but it's an ease of deployment for us. And that's why 3 of the top Fortune 5 run Weka for their AI initiatives. You ready for this one? 7 of the top 50. And I know it's an awkward phrase, but 9 of the top 64 run Weka for their AI initiatives all over the last 120 days. So we're on a little bit of a roll. And I think it's because, Chris, 2 phenomena. If you're not running an AI program right now, you're at a competitive disadvantage to a competitor that has it. And number 2, I'm starting to see more and more. I was asked to speak at a ThoughtSpot conference where they talked about CDOs, Chief Data Officers. People are starting, the Fortune 2000 and maybe the Fortune 200 is starting with it. They're starting to hire these really strong, talented individuals from academia or HBC, borrowing them, retaining them, or hiring them, and getting them to run their AI projects. Because coming out of COVID, you need a competitive edge.
Yeah. And you guys have your own built-in AI for all of this for inside the system. Is that it?
Absolutely. Yes. Full parallel file system, fully redundant, full failover. Everything's encrypted in data and at rest. Just a great solution. I don't want to get too much into it, but the federal government runs a lot of our products, and some of the 3-letter acronyms you probably could name right off the top of your head. We're very proud to have an esteemed customer list. And I think ESG just did a report for us. In fact, I know it did. And the 4 largest multi-petabyte deployments in the world are all in Weka. So welcome to Weka. And we tend to, these aha moments are kind of what we call Weka wows. That's how we kind of enjoy our customers and have a nice net promoter score so that people keep buying through the whole flywheel.
Wow. All right, Ken, you guys are in a good lane going forward. So congratulations on this for sure.
Thanks for having me, Chris. And thanks to all those Weka customers and soon to be Weka customers. Have a great day.
Yeah. And if they need more information, anybody needs more information, it's weka.io or what?
Weka.io. And I'd love to help you out personally as well as our team. Thank you.
That's where you go. Thanks, Ken Grohe, president of Weka, W-E-K-A, New Gen Storage and parallel file system. That's pretty cool. So thanks again. And for everybody who's following along with us, thanks for joining us and have a great rest of your eWeek. Thanks for joining us on eWeek eSpeaks. Go to eWEEK.com to hear more conversations with IT thought leaders.